There wasn't that much like a lot of cyberpunk stories try to ask a very poignant question about the human existence, the human soul, about what makes a robot, what makes a human. You might have remembered this from our Near Automata episode that we released. I don't think Snatcher really goes too deep into it, any of that. Like the biggest philosophical question that ever comes out is in Act 3, which we will get there when we go into the spoiler section. But that's probably the only time that a philosophical question about who's who, what's what does it mean to be a snatcher, what does it mean to be human, ever even gets brought up. To be honest, I don't know if you might, maybe
Yeah.
with your expertise, you might have seen more than I did.
No, I mean, I think that it my biggest critique, my biggest issue with Snatcher is that it is such a black and white, good versus evil story,
Hmm.
and I think that traditionally the best cyberpunk stories are really mired in the gray space between moral like polar opposites,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it great is that humanity is this really murky, swampy kind of mess of moral desires and
Hmm.
constraints, and it's always like trying to find like the best path through, and it's like you want to be more human, you want to be more robotic, you want to be better, you want to be worse, you want to be smarter, whatever it happens to be, like whatever the main crux is. And I think that this is very much a story that's like Snatcher bad, Junker good, yay.
Hmm. Am I out of place to say that Blade Runner is to Snatcher as Star Trek is to Star Wars?
uh
Where Star Trek is a lot more interested in talking about the philosophy, talking about like deeper concepts about exploration, sometimes about race and speciesism and all these different things, versus Star Wars is not interested in that. It's a really good movie. It's really like great, but it doesn't care to talk about that or to like engage with that. Is that a fair assessment or
What I'll say is 2 parts. So part 1 is I agree, I think that's pretty much correct, and I'm happy leaving it at that, and my follow-up answer is the longer one, which is that the problem with comparing Star Trek and Star Wars is that Star Trek is a science fiction story and Star Wars is a fantasy story,
yeah.
and it's a lot more, to me, apples and oranges. It's just that they both happen to take place in space.
Mhm.